Well, the easiest instrument build I've ever done was probably a diddly bow. 2x4, some screws, an old G string off a bass guitar, and some glass bottles, and a Sharpie that I used to mark out the notes once I found them, and away we went. And it was great fun. But the second easiest thing I've ever done, this has got to be the laziest build I have ever performed, is a cigar box guitar. And I'll show that to you at the end of this. It's more of a church project for, we're putting some kits together. But the prototype, that I built, uh, I just, threw it together. And in all fairness, I had seen one like it. It's not, I can't really say it's an original idea. I had seen one that, hey, I could do that. And so the rest of this video, for the most part, is me showing you how I just kind of throw it together. And all screws, except the fretboard's glued on, but everything else is just, all screwed together, no glue. And it plays and holds tune and makes music. So real sloppy, all rough cut. Haven't even sanded the neck. It's just it was cut and routed, and that's it. So let's see what that looks like. Hello. So here's a fun project that we're working on. We're actually putting together some cigar box guitar kits that we're going to let people put together at church. And it'll only cost the cost of materials less the scrap wood that we're using. So, strings, tuners, frets, things like that. So what we did is we have a box. We just made it rather than buying a cigar box because we had a lot of scrap wood. The dimensions of the box are 8 3/4 by 14. And that's the framework. And it's just some beadboard plywood on the back, which is also the front. We just screwed it together on the sides, and 4 screws are holding the back on. And if we need more, we'll add more. I'm experimenting right now with just throwing this together without glue. So that's what we did. Made a neck. And I did put frets in it. And the only thing I've done in the way of finish is I sprayed a little bit of clear coat, like lacquer, over the yardstick because I thought it'd make the paint last longer. It says Home Depot. And then I slotted it and put some frets in. Tuners, I drilled a hole in the wrong spot. Doesn't really matter. I'm not planning on putting any finish on it or sanding a lot. I'll sand the neck some to make sure there are no splinters. Maybe I'll rub some car wax on there for finish. I don't know. And it fits in just like that. And that's the idea. This is a 26-inch scale length, like I often do. Not always, but sometimes I use that scale length. It works well for banjo strings, which is what this is going to get. It's going to get some light gauge banjo strings. I have some left over, and I'm going to put them on there. Hopefully they're long enough. If not, I'll tie knots in them and make them long enough. Is the goal. These hooks are for springs. I saw someone did that for resonance, and I like that. So I thought I'd just put it together real quick. So if we start with the end pieces, so I'm just going to start, I'm going to screw the 2 screws in the end here and call it good. And I'm not using any glue. And if it plays well without glue, that'll be nice. I've never built a cigar box guitar before. I usually build things that are a little more involved. But I elected to do this. And so now the neck is installed. Changed my bit because of this. I have to go with the screws I have, or we don't want to pour a bunch of money into this thing. Actually, we're going to put the springs in, the neck in place. I'm going to put the springs on, and they give that resonance tone. We're using a paint can lid for a resonator. It's resonator style. And I'm just hooking it on these cup hooks like this. We'll hope I put it in the right spot. And that just, I don't know what it does. Maybe gives it like a reverb or a resonance tone. This is an experiment. So fat on one side, thin on the other. That's what we're doing. We're going to throw the top on. And that gets screws in these places, just like this. And we'll just make it happen. And once I'm not trying to make the prettiest thing. It's a cigar box guitar, so it's not really like I feel so inclined to overthink it. And then just driving the screws in. Obviously, I pre-drilled all the holes. Now, my estimation is the kits that we're putting together might be even a little nicer than this. This is just a prototype to see how it works. And I think Tom Stimmerman, who's actually helping me a great deal with these kits in terms of getting pieces cut out, things like that, he's probably going to be a lot more careful than I am. So now the top's on, and you can see the neck was chiseled out here, that neck stock, a little bit to make room for the lid to fit in, and it goes like that. So what I need to do next is I'm going to put I have some little teeny screws I'm going to put here so the loop ends of the banjo strings can go over it. And I need to make a bridge. I haven't made a bridge yet. You can even hear the springs. And once I make the bridge, sand the neck a little bit, I'll throw some strings on it and play it. This is the finished product. So you can see our springs inside the sound holes. There's our paint can lid. I didn't make a bridge. We'll make bridges for the kits for church, but I had an old banjo bridge that I wasn't going to use on anything, so I just stuck it on there. And then for the tailpiece, I just screwed some screws in there and looped the banjo strings around it. And for those of you who end up with one and you're thinking, wow, this is tuned as an open G tuning like my plectrum banjo, and it would work just fine to use on the Easy Peasy Banjo lessons. So the 5th fret is right here at the orange box, about 6.5 inches. And the 7th fret is there. And it sounds like that. And so it's a neat thing. It's beadboard and some scrap lumber, and you see the neck's rough, just routed over, and I didn't even sand it, and so far I haven't managed to get any splinters, but doesn't mean I couldn't. So that's something a guy could pretty much throw together in an afternoon, to be honest. And the fretboard was added on so we could use a yardstick because we'd seen that and thought that was kind of neat looking. This is where I drilled some holes in the wrong spot. Uh, so, but you don't even need a fretboard. You could just use your regular wood. But it does help it come out more even with the top and things like that. Otherwise, and so we just glued that on. Um, you saw me screw it together. So hope you enjoyed that one. Lord bless.